computer though. Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and I am proud to bring you to Brian's Drive-In Theater, an institution for B-movies that has graced us for more than a quarter of a century. And now, without further ado, Brian. How are you, Brian Walker?
I am here in 2024, my 59th trip around the sun, and I'm happy to be here. And as we were talking just a bit earlier before the broadcast, this is the first time in more than 40 years that I have not been on campus for the first day of classes, as I'm
Wow,
not teaching this semester. Uh,
that's
so
fantastic.
Well, part of me, a month ago, I thought, well, I'm going to be at loose ends. What am I going to do? At least for the past 2 days since the semester began, I couldn't have cared less. I'm just fine. Now, that said, I will tell you this, I will more than likely be back in the classroom this fall teaching. And by then, I think I'm going to be ready to go back. But for right now, I'm enjoying this newfound freedom. I haven't had this much time off in, oh golly, since I was about 15.
Oh, fantastic. And you
I,
seem to have acquired a really cool it's hoodie in the process.
I sure I got some great things for Christmas, and Greg got me this hoodie. It's kind of hard to see because it's a dark blue. Well, I would say more, not really dark blue. How about a royal blue? But the image, it has the universe. I'm sure this is violating copyright because it has the universal Frankenstein image, with the bolts in the neck and everything like that. But it's cool. Just don't report me for wearing
It'll be our secret.
it. Thank you. I appreciate it. And tonight, what I wanted to talk about was, it's a new year. There are going to be a lot of changes for everybody. Hopefully, there'll be good ones. And this is Tippy, who's with us right now. Tippy is named after Tippi Hedren, and guess what? This month, Tippi Hedren celebrates her 94th birthday.
Wow.
And Tippy is going to celebrate her 6th birthday here in a couple of months. Well, April, I believe. It's about 3 months or so. Um, she's no shrinking violet. If you've ever had a female cat, you'll know that they tend to rule the roost. They tend to run the house.
Yes.
Anything that you're working on or doing, your female kitty is going to be in the middle of it, supervising. Your male cat's going to be off sleeping on the couch somewhere, but your female is going to be there helping you out. So I really like female cats. Uh, that's not to say that I don't like male cats, because I do. Obviously, they're just very different. The females are very much more. I think they're great companions. They're, like I said, she's always with me. I know exactly where she is any time of day or night. I can't really say that for Murray. He could be in one of his three different places that he prefers to sleep. But with her, I mean, she's never more than a couple of feet away.
That is great. We have one cat left right now. We had a house full when we moved here to northeastern New Jersey around a decade or so ago. But she's a female cat. She's my ghost cat, whose story I've shared on numerous occasions. But she too, she likes to be in the midst of things. Like if I'm washing a dish or a coffee cup, she likes to walk between me and the sink and put her the side of her under my nose. So I don't know what that translates into in cat language, but she seems very apt to do that and very adamant about it as well.
Well, over the years, we've given our pets a lot of um, names out of popular American culture, movies and television shows. And Tippy actually came by her name very honestly. She is named after Tippi Hedren, but somebody dropped Tippy on us when she was a kitten. I would say she was probably 5 or 6 months old when she was dropped on us. She was still a baby, and she was in mostly good shape, but the first time I saw her, she was underneath the bird feeder that we have in the front yard, and we have a lot of birds in the yard. We have a huge row of pines that separates one part of our property from the neighbors. So we have a lot of birds. We have a lot of cardinals, and I can't remember what kind of bird it was, but there was a bird swooping down at her. I don't know if she was planning to eat one or just have fun catching it. But that's how she got her name, Tippy, because the bird was going after her as opposed to her going after the bird. And I'm a big Tippy Hedren fan anyway. I think she's a vastly underrated actress, and excited to say that her birthday is this month. She'll be
Awesome.
94 years old, as I said, and seems to be the pictures that I've seen of her, the recent pictures. She looks fantastic. She in no way, shape, or form does she look to be 94 years old. Just not at all. You would think she was 10 or 15 years younger.
Yeah, a lot of people are reaching their 90s now. My father-in-law's in his 90s. My mother's in her 90s. Back in the day, I guess a generation ago, when my son was little, um, people were reaching like the 80s and the mid 80s. Now it seems to be 90s. That's the new plateau for people to be reaching.
Well, obviously, more women reach their
Yes.
90s than men because women tend to live a little bit longer. I don't know if it's because men do stupid things, which could be, which might hasten their demise, um, or what. But this month alone, we have several birthdays of actresses who are in their 80s and 90s and still with us, thankfully. So, one of my favorite actresses, Mara Corday, who was in some terrific B movies in the 1950s, including The Giant Claw and Tarantula. She did a lot of big bug and big, you know, not just bugs, but well, that's true. She's also in The Black Scorpion. So she did do numerous bug movies now that I think about it. Gorgeous actress. She had been a pinup before getting into, I think she was signed by Universal in the early 1950s. And she was sort of the last wave of the contract players at Universal, and just stunningly beautiful, and a good actress too. That's not to take away anything from her acting abilities because she was very good in the films that she was in. But she more or less packed away her career when she married Richard Long, the actor, in 1957. And Richard Long had a pretty good career in television. He was in The Big Valley. When I was a kid, he was in Nanny and the Professor, which,
I remember that show.
oh, it's not very good. But I remembered it being good because I was probably like 5 or 6 years old
Yes.
watching it. So I liked it at the time. Going back to see it now, it, it's a little schmaltzy, and I'm so cynical and jaded at this point that I can't do schmaltz anymore. I have a real tough time with it. But Mara Corday, 94 years old, and she turned 94 just a few days ago. Terry Moore is another actress who her best known roles are probably Mighty Joe Young and Comeback Little Sheba. But Terry Moore was in lots of films in the 50s, 60s. And these days, or probably more recently, she was known for claiming to have been married to Howard Hughes and never having gotten a divorce. If you'll remember that from after when Hughes passed away in the late 70s, she made headlines for that. And she is still with us at 95, still walking around, still going to Comic Cons and autograph conventions, still looks great. And she's another one who looks, years younger than her age would make you think. And as I said, Tippi Hedren turns 94 this month. There's some other actresses too. Just looking over my list, Shirley Eaton, the Golden Girl from Goldfinger, will be 87 later this month. And we lost a few over the last year. Well, Barbara Rush, the famous actress from the 50s and 60s and 70s too, is 97 this month. And there again, beautiful woman when she was in her 20s, and still beautiful now that she's nearly 100, which I find amazing and inspirational too. I follow, and I've probably mentioned this before, probably 100 times, but I follow Mamie Van Doren on Facebook,
Mhm.
and she'll be 93 next month, and she regularly posts on social media, and she posts her own stuff. You can tell, that she's doing it herself. Posts current pictures of herself. She's sexualized being in your 90s, which I find amazing, and more power to her at that. There's no reason why your sexuality should die just because you're old, and hers hasn't, and she's kept it alive. And you ought to read the comments. I mean, people are just gushing over her. And her son, Perry, I think his name's Perry Anthony. He's a really lucky guy because he's close to 70, and both of his parents are still alive.
Oh, wow.
And I think his father is Ray Anthony, the famous band leader from the 40s and 50s and 60s as well. And he's 101 or 102 and lives in Laguna Beach. Um, I don't know what his living arrangements are, but if you're retired living in Laguna Beach, you've lived a good life. You've been a really fortunate guy. Laguna Beach is one of my favorite beach towns that I've ever been to. Just a fantastic place and some great food there as well. But I'm digressing, I know. Um, this is also a big month for Peplum films and their stars, I should say, because we have 6 Peplum birthdays this month.
Wow.
The first one was Dan Vadas, so he was our star of the day on January 3rd. We also had Mark Forrest and Nikki Hargitay. They were both born on the same day, different years. Um, and as you know, we lost Mark Forrest just a couple of years ago, I guess, or a year ago, maybe something like 1 or 2 years ago. Anyway, and we had Mickey Hargitay as the star of the day. And my favorite Mickey Hargitay movie ran as the movie of the day, and that is Bloody Pit of Horror. Not a Peplum film, but just a campy, fantastic, public domain, gotta see it Italian movie. The it has an interesting plot line in that Mickey Hargitay portrays this. He used to be an actor, and he's this physical, culturist. So he's always working on his body and trying to look better, trying to be more muscular looking in the film. So he's extremely vain, and these models, another group of people known for their vanity, stumble upon his castle somewhere in Italy, who knows where, along with a photographer and producer of some sort, and they want to take pictures on the property. Well, one of the women involved in the modeling has a past with Mickey Hargitay's character, and it kind of goes from there. I guess he sees the opportunity to camp it up, and he does in the film, and it really helps make the film because otherwise it's pretty grim. There are a series of murders that take place in the movie that are pretty horrific, to watch, very painful. But like I said, his performance is so over the top that it makes the movie a lot of fun, and it is my favorite Mickey Hargitay movie.
I
But later
remember watching that movie once upon a time on television, and even though I'm sure it was cut, it
oh,
still had that reaction. It was like this is horrendous. Not in the way it was put together, but in the tale that they chose to tell.
well, it is. It's very graphic, and very inventive in terms of the way people are murdered. and it nobody's just stabbed or shot or anything like that. These murders are extremely elaborate. They've taken a lot of time to set up. Um, and that's kind of really what it's so preposterous that it makes the movie fun. But it is really grim and gruesome. And he has this great well, whoever's dubbed him has this great maniacal laugh that permeates the soundtrack, and it's just a lot of fun. Some of the other Peplum birthdays that we've got this month are Steve Reeves is coming up.
The biggie.
Yeah, yeah, it's he's the person that even I still think of when I hear the name Hercules. No offense, Hercules.
None taken.
but when I hear that name, I mean that's the image that immediately pops into my head. Is like, oh, Steve Reeves. Then you. How about that?
I'm greatly honored that it would be
Okay.
dedicated, not Rich Park or
Well, do you find that to be a lot of pressure? You're named after you know, the son of Zeus. So, I, does that put a lot of pressure on you to perform well?
not really, because I've always been, I've never really been a bodybuilder per se, but I've always lifted weights and I've always been very Herculean. I'm actually leaner now and I'm getting older and wrinkled. But people still kind of guess who I am. And usually when people say, oh, Hercules, talk to Hercules about something, they say, well, how do I know it's him? And it's like, well, you'll know exactly when you see him. So people generally know who I am, and even if they don't know who I am, they guess that have something to do with Greek mythology and so forth. So I don't. It hasn't really been a problem. I haven't really felt a lot of pressure with it. We all are who we are. I mean, you must get a lot of pressure being Brian Walker of Brian's Drive-In Theater, which is a awesome monument to B movies, and has been so for a third of my lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, my anniversary is coming up here. Of the drive-in is coming up here in just a few weeks. It'll be 26 years old, which I can't believe that. I can't believe it's been around that long. And that's kind of another thing that I wanted to talk about tonight briefly. But I'll go back to Peplum birthdays for just a second. Reg Lewis is another birthday that we have later on this month, and he's in Fire Monsters against the Son of Hercules, and sadly passed away a few years ago. But just a great month for birthdays. And if you like swashbucklers, Kerwin Matthews and Guy Williams also have birthdays this month. Um, and you both made some terrific films. One other actress that I wanted to mention, whose birthday was also on January 3rd, along with Mara Corday and Dan Battis, that is Quinn O'Hara. I met Quinn a number of years ago, and she was an up and coming actress in the 1960s, very gorgeous Scottish redhead who had come to America in the late 1950s with her mother. And Quinn was, even in later years, just stunning, looking very, very attractive, but had a lot of health problems, sadly, in later years. Greg and I went to visit her at her home in Century City. Oh golly, this is probably there are pictures I think on my Facebook profile
Oh, awesome.
of the three of us together somewhere. I'll have to pull one of those out and take a look. Um, but we you we talked fairly often, and we'd met her before, but she invited us over to her house, and fortunately I found it. I'm not really familiar with I'm not familiar with Los Angeles now, but I used to know my way around fairly well. But Century City wasn't an area that I was all familiar with. I was more familiar with Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and south of LA, really. But she invited us into our home, and we had coffee and talked for a few hours. And we went into the backyard where she wanted to pick some lemons, and she had this beautiful lemon tree. And these lemons looked like grapefruit. I mean, they're like this big. They were enormous and beautiful and delicious. Well, she sent about 15 of those back with us. And we're staying in we're staying in, I think we usually stayed at the Magic Castle, which means you have an apartment. But what am I going to do with 15 lemons that are the size of my fist? So I didn't know what to do with them. We were getting ready to go home. So I just shoved them in my luggage and got them back home unharmed somehow. I don't know how it happened. They didn't explode during the flight or anything. They did just fine, and they were delicious. They were so good.
Did your clothes smell lemony fresh?
Yes, very. And most of them were dirty, so I guess that was a good thing to put the lemons in there. But it was just really everybody, and this hasn't happened for a long time, unfortunately. But the people that I have met who've invited me into their homes have just been the most gracious people on earth, and Quinn was no exception there. And sadly, that was the last time I got to see her before she passed away. She, like I said, she'd had some health problems. She'd had a pretty aggressive form of cancer, and the treatment for the cancer that she had made her bones so brittle that she just had so many issues. Later in life, it was hard to see it because she part of her was still still wanted to go out and work, and she wanted to do some more acting and such, but just physically she just couldn't do it anymore. It hurt to see that.
Yeah, I could imagine. I know many people who, well, all of us are aging, and whether we have uh, horrible diseases or not, I mean, we're watching ourselves deteriorate as we move forward through time. But it's very sad when someone that is lively and enjoys life and revels in life starts losing their ability to enjoy life or to interact with life.
It is one, and I guess this sounds maudlin for a New Year broadcast, but I think as you get older, either your body betrays you or your mind. And the seniors that I've known have mostly been able to hold on to their minds, and I think that's the way to go. If you have to make a choice, you can still entertain yourself if your mind's functioning clearly.
Yes,
You can still enjoy things, but if your mind goes, oh, it's a bad scene. It really is. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I do think that we could all do more to keep ourselves in good physically fit. You know,
right.
because with each passing day, it seems to get harder and harder just to get out of bed, and walk around. But and no matter how much it hurts, you have to keep doing it because if you don't, you won't be able to. You won't have any mobility. You won't be able to move.
Right. And the
And
mental part of it too. I meditate, I do dream recall, I have the lucid dreams, I see dreams, I do all sorts of things with my head. And part of the reason I do that is because it's exercise. And so even if I become physically less able to do things, and I don't want to be physically less able, but
well,
if
I
I
understand.
become, at least with my mind and my imagination, my inner altered state work, I could find ways to do all sorts of interesting things, with my mind. And so I exercise my mind as well as my body, and I guess what people call spirit too, although my definition is probably a lot different than most people's.
That mine probably is too. But as no matter how old you are, if your mind's still, like I said, functioning clearly, you can still learn new things. And I think that's as you said, it exercises your mind. It's very important to do that as well after you get older. like Greg is 70 years old, but started a career just last year teaching a different set of college courses from what he used to teach. Different department, different program, different class, and he latched right onto it. And he's just teaching online, but he's learned quite a bit. He'd been out of it for a few years. He hadn't taught since the pandemic started, and things change pretty quickly in terms of classroom technology and such. But he latched right onto it, and they keep throwing classes at him, and he keeps teaching them. So I think that's wonderful. Now he's teaching two 8-week courses right now for the university, and he will wrap that up early in March. And we're going to hit the road for a while after he's finished. I'm not teaching this semester, as I said earlier, so I'll be free to hit the highway for a while. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to see what your evolution of Brian's Drive-In Theater will be in the future, since you have this new time, and I'm sure you've been thinking about what the evolution will be. Because I've enjoyed the evolution from the very beginning, and I'm sure this retirement or semi-retirement will bring us more innovation.
Well, I hope so. And some of the innovation is going to have to be forced, unfortunately, because Amazon, years ago, I used to be part of an affiliate program with Movies Unlimited, and Movies Unlimited was a great catalog company that had existed since the 1970s. I used to order stuff from them like back when I was a teenager. It's been around that long. Well, unfortunately, around 2013, 2014, they were sold off,
Oh,
and that's when the affiliate program ended. And I liked the way that they set up their website for the affiliates. It was easy to find the films that they had to offer for each actor. Amazon is not. And anyway, I had to switch over all of my links to Amazon affiliate links when Movies Unlimited went away, and now Amazon has now deprecated all of those links.
oh,
And the only thing you can really post now is one of their anonymous banners, usually promoting Amazon Prime, and nobody's going to sign up for Prime. I mean, everybody's already got it, so why advertise something that everybody already has? And they don't want you linking to individual products anymore. And if you do, they just give you like a text link. There's no image, and who's going to click on that? 25 years ago, yeah, now no. So I've decided that the Amazon affiliate program and I are going to go our separate ways. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go through about 400 HTML pages and pull all of that stuff out. And I don't have anything to replace it with, which is sad because I love physical media, but what do you do? You know, so if I can find something else to replace it with, fine. Otherwise, any of the Amazon links on the website are going to have to go. And it's going to take me a while to ditch those. It's probably something I'll just have to work on, for a couple of months until I get it all done.
I remember
But
in the early days when I had like my MSN websites up, and I had a blog, and it was experimenting with different things. The affiliate links paid respectably, but then as time passed, they paid less respectively, and then hardly anything at all. I've written a couple of books for Amazon, and I'm sure some of them sell because I get rankings every now and then, and I'm told that we have sales, but I guess they don't sell enough to have earned anything, as far as I know. So,
mhm.
I stopped
Yeah,
writing books for Amazon, and I was thinking of becoming like an Amazon affiliate, and you just helped me not do that and waste a lot of time.
I mean, who are you going to expose Amazon to who hasn't heard about it yet?
Right.
I mean, it's now you could make the argument that the way I had my website set up, where you know there's an individual link and graphic for every
Mhm.
DVD that they offered for, you know, let's say Steve Reeves, um, and you might purchase that, and then I would get this tiny fraction, you know, of a percentage of that sale. But they don't even want you doing that now. Like I said, they've deprecated all of that. And you'll get a message from Amazon saying, well, we have deprecated this type of link, but they won't, for one thing, do I have this link on my website? I have no idea. What they call a certain type of link now isn't what they called it a
Before.
few years back. So it's like, hell, I don't know, you know, and you just have to see what happens. And it's only been the last like 3 days or so that I've noticed it. But indeed, when I went back into the affiliate program, it's to see if I could find, you know, any way to generate content like that. You just can't. They don't want you to do it. They're not interested in having an affiliate program anymore, and I'm not interested in being an affiliate.
Right.
So that's kind of over with. But you're right. Back in the day, like let's say late '90s, early 2000s, affiliate programs paid. They paid
Decent.
well. I made in not that I made that much money, but I made enough off of the first affiliate program that I ever joined, which I can't remember what it was. And it had nothing to do with movies. But I made enough to pay off my car at the time.
Oh, wow.
Like over the course of a year. Now I had a Honda Accord. I mean, it's not like I had a Maserati or anything
But
like that.
still, Honda Accord is a good car.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was. I had bought it new, but I was also several years, you know, into it. It wasn't like it paid, you know, off a $20,000 loan or anything like that. I was at the end of the loan anyway, but still, you know, I mean, it did pay off that. Movies Unlimited paid really well. They started you off at I think 8%, but if you sold in certain volume, if your affiliate links sold in a certain volume, they would boost it up to 12%, and that's where they
That's
had me at for a while. And they paid really well, and every quarter I could count on that check showing up. They were great. It was a terrific affiliate program,
I
and
used
they're all
to buy
gone.
Dragon Door used to have affiliate program that paid fairly decently. That was bodybuilding. They're one of the ones who introduced kettlebells into our culture and like Russian
Hmm.
exercises and things like that. They had a lot of bodybuilding without weights type of programs, and they're pretty unique in what was available at the time. They paid pretty decently. I contacted them not too long ago, and they said they don't do affiliate programs anymore.
Hmm.
So,
We very few people do anymore, and you know, I Google Ads is kind of like the sort of the last one, you know, I think, and it seems to be the way that a lot of people monetize either their YouTube feeds or their websites or whatever. And I think I made enough money on Google Ads last year to almost pay my server fees.
but that's
Almost.
good.
Yeah, but my server fees keep going up. So this year it won't. Like I've got to pay them here in the next week or two, and what I generate this year won't pay for it. I guarantee it. But
Pretty good. But
it, it
what are you gonna do? I'm gonna continue.
well, yeah, it's not like this is going away. So it's it's not breaking the bank just yet. So I'll be just fine. That's a shame though that you can't. And there's so I, I don't know how much longer we're going to have websites anyway. I mean, social media is kind of taking over everything else. Um, I will say this though. Social media is a good way to drive traffic to your website. I do
Right.
think that's a big help, and I think a lot of older people still rely on websites, you know, because you know if you want to find a repository of information about a certain thing or a certain person or something like that, you're bound to find something like that now on the internet. You know, back in the late '90s when I was ginning up the website, for a lot of these people, there was absolutely no information.
Right.
Yeah, you might find a
I
name or a
remember those
photo.
times.
It wasn't really that long ago either. But now there's just this explosion. I mean, you can type in the most obscure actor names and then come up finding images of them. So that's amazing. I mean, that's a wonderful thing.
I
Uh,
remember I used to print out mostly with the Hercules ones, but also with the retro science fiction and horror. But
mm.
see the Peplum, I used to print out every page on your website when it came out, and I had loose leaf binders. So that's why if your website disappeared, all this work that you put into it would still be accessible.
Well,
Because things disappeared, and that's it. There were relics and ruins that hadn't been updated in decades.
and some of them, a lot of those early websites were actually free,
Yes.
like GeoCities, Tripod. Um, there was a number of other ones out there, and when those go belly up, when they're gone, they're gone. And there goes your website. And it takes a lot of chutzpah, in order to stick with something that long.
Hmm.
And you might be obsessed about a certain topic, but if you don't generate any kind of discussion about it, if you don't generate any kind of traffic, where do you go with it? And I think a lot of those early websites that you and I used to visit are long gone. And I like to think that I've stuck it out. So
Oh, you have, and I appreciate that about you. It takes a lot to stick to something for that long and to have it still around.
I tend to dig. I did that with my career too. I tend to dig my heels in, and I slog through it. But I do have. There are some other things I need to do to the website other than just pulling all the mentions of Amazon out of it, though. I've never liked where I wound up with the index page on my website, which is the entrance page. Go to briansdrivingtheater.com. Boom,
Mhm.
you're there. I like One of my big goals was to keep as much information above the scroll as possible. And I think I actually accomplished that. I also wanted it to look good on iPads and things like that. And I accomplished that, but I just don't like it. It just doesn't grab me at all. Um, it really needs a big update and probably something that's beyond my capabilities as a webmaster, but I if I bite off more than I can chew, I usually chew it anyway.
And
So we'll see.
you'll come up with a solution. I just looked at the time, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you stand, I have another show that I'm preparing for tonight.
I saw that.
So we're gonna wrap up, but I really enjoyed catching up with you. I enjoyed learning about all the birthdays in January, and I'm gonna contemplate um, the fact that all these birthdays are on the same time. I'm gonna look up to see what movies they made, what the movies communicated. Who knows? I might find something very esoteric, a message from the gods. Contemplating this information. How can people find Brian's Drive-In Theater, and how can they find, more importantly, Brian?
Well, obviously, if you go to briansdriveintheater.com, Brian with an I, you can take a look at the website that has been around for nearly 26 years. There's a ton of content there. It's mostly divided up into actor pages. That's about 98% of the content. So many B movie actors that you can think of are probably profiled on my website. I've got plans for more, and
Awesome.
it's something I want to get back to in 2024. If you want to interact with me on social media, your only choice these days is Facebook. Um, I am still on X, formerly known as Twitter, I suppose. But and I check Twitter every day, but I never post or anything on it. I don't even repost. So I'm just it's kind of a repository of news feeds for me. Facebook is really where I interact with other people. It's a great place to grow a community.
And you don't advertise enough on Facebook, because I know you and I keep yeah, keep track of what you're doing. but unless somebody's familiar with your page, there's like a wealth of things happening on your page. So whenever I have extra time, I try to promote your page, and I know other people have done that as well because they think the world of you and your life work. But we have to figure out a way of letting more people know about your Facebook page and the website.
Well, and that's another addition that we're going to make in 2024. I'm going to start a podcast as
Oh,
well.
awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Been was going to try to get it off the ground last year, but this year is the year.
And we will gladly link to it so that people
Sounds
can.
good.
Well, thank you very much. Happy New Year. May this year be better than all the ones before it. May it bring you and Greg much joy, much fulfillment, and many new opportunities. I look forward to all your inventive projects that will manifest throughout the year and the year ahead. Thank you very much, Brian, for being an awesome individual and my friend.
And thank you, and happy New Year to you, Athena and Brandon.
Thank you very much. Take care. And thank you, dear audience, for tuning in. And I wish you all a happy and healthy new year as well. Until next time, this is Hercules Invictus signing off.
Good night.
Good night.